Good morning to Prof. Mokarama. We are from Group 2, and our assignment title is The Impact of Government Expenditure by its total and its component on fishery sector in marine and also aquaculture. And our members have Chong Ka Lai 277491, Cheng Ji Hui 277773, Chan Yi Teng 277851, Noor AISYAH 277946, and Ng Woon Yi 278203. Good morning to Prof. Mokarama. My name is Chan Yi Teng. My match number is 277851. Now I'd like to talk about the introduction of our presentation. One of the most important sub-industry to the overall economy of Malaysia is the fishing industry. Fishery sector providing the protein to the population of Malaysia. The two primary components that make up the fishery sector in Malaysia is marine sector and aquaculture sector. Now I'd like to talk about the problem statement. The Malaysia fishing sector is facing challenges related to sustainability as a result of heavy fishing pressure, particularly concerning of the over-exploitation that has damaged a significant amount of fish habitat in Malaysia water bodies, which has consequently result in a significant reduction in the amount of fishery production. We total have 3 research questions for our assignment. The first is, what is the trend of overall amount and the percentage of government spending on the fishery sector? The second is, which component of government expenditure is the most effective in affecting the fishery sector? The last is, what is the relationship between the government spending on the fishery sector and the total production of fishery sector in marine and aquaculture? And we also have 3 research objectives. The first is to identify the trend of government spending on the fishery sector. The second is to identify the trend of production of fishery sector. The third is to identify the relationship between the government spending on fishery sector and the total production of fishery sector in marine and in aquaculture. The importance of study of our assignment is the government plays a significant role in fishery sector to help improve the production of fishery sector. In addition to this, the fishery sector in Malaysia has a long illustrious cultural heritage. These industries are much more than merely providing a means of subsistence.
Assalamualaikum Dr. and everyone. My name is Noor AISYAH. Number mention 27946. I will briefly explain on literature review, which is 2.0. There are 2 subsections. The first one is 2.1, is about theories of government expenditure, and the second one is 11 past study. Government expenditure, there are 2 related theories, which the first one is witness law, the second one is CHEONG theory. So the first one, according to the witness law, the government expenditure is an operational factor that is utilized to enhance the economy instead of as a driver of the growth, in which during the economic process, the pace of government expenditure will increase faster than the level of economic activity, which is contradict to the CHEONG theory. The CHEONG theory is increasing government expenditure is significant and is what spurs the growth of the economic country. This is supported by the study of Dinan and CHEN in 2018. Next is Makin 2015. Makin affirms that increasing government expenditure produce a greater national output value, which is evidence in favor of CHEONG theory. The next one is Salvente and Friends in 2021. They support CHEONG theory that government expenditure is an external tool used by government to not only expand the economy but also to restrain the economic expansion. Lastly is Moreno-Dodson in 28. Moreno-Dodson argued that government expenditure might not be productive. However, Keynes 1986 highlight that economic business will expand within the economy if government encourage government expenditure by fiscal stimulus. Next is 2.2, which is review literature based on previous study that is related to our topic, which is the impact of government expenditure on fishery sector. So the first study is Kadir and Tunggal in 2015. They studied the effect of macroeconomic indicators on agricultural productivity in Malaysia. Their study outcome has showed that increasing government expenditure and money supply will have a positive impact on agricultural productivity, whereas exchange rate and inflation will result in negative impact on agricultural productivity. The next one is Novianti and Friends in 2014. They studied the relationship between government expenditure and maritime economic expansion. they have come to the conclusion that government expenditure on marine infrastructure development could help to stimulate the economic growth. And the next one is Armas and Friends in 2012, Chinlima and Kemisola in 2012. So these two studies studied the relationship between government expenditure and agricultural allotment. They have concluded that government expenditure for the agriculture has a positive impact on economic expansion. And then the last one is the Atai and Friends in 2022. So their study is the government expenditure on agricultural sector should also cover expenses on agricultural research, technology development, livestock and crop gene banks. Overall, I would like to conclude that increasing government expenditure will not only help to increase the production of fishery sector but also help to boost and promote our economic growth. That's all for me. I will pass to the next one.
Good day, doctor and everyone. I am Chen Ki-Hui, number metric 2777773. Today, I will proceed with the analysis of studies. In analysis of study, there are three parts. The first is the trend of components of government expenditure on fisheries sector. Second, the trend of productions of the fisheries sector in marine and aquaculture. And the third part is the relationship between the trend of government expenditure on fisheries sectors and the change in the total production of fisheries sector in marine and in agriculture.
My name is Changkai with the method number is 277491. Now I will present the trend of production of the fisheries sector in marine and agriculture. On the table, we have the value for the marine capture, fishery and agriculture and total value of all of them. The value of marine capture fishery has a continuous increase from 2011 to 2019 and they have a decreasing in 2020. The value of the agriculture do not have a stable increasing or decreasing, but it has a increasing and decreasing from 2011 to 2020. Although the value of the agriculture do not have a continuous increasing or decreasing, but the total value for both of them have a continuous increasing from 2011 to 2019, and they have a decreasing in 2020. Now I will present the relationship between the total government expenditure and total value for fishing sector. They have a positive relationship between the government expenditure and the value of fishing sector for marine and agriculture by increasing together from 2011 to 2019. In 2020, they also have a positive relationship in the total government expenditure and total value, but in 2020 they have a decreasing together in the value. That's all for my part. Thank you.
Firstly, I will talk about the trend of government expenditure on fisheries sector from year 2011 to 2020. The component of government expenditure include operating expenditure and development expenditure. In this graph, present the total government expenditure shows rise from 108,305,779 ringgit in 2011 to 206,394,078 ringgit in 2020. Next, with the operating expenditure, it shows an up and down trend from year 2011 to 2020. The operating expenditure has increased from 87,103,705 ringgit in 2011 to 144,798,418 ringgit in 2017, then decreased to 118,886,777 ringgit in 2020. Besides that, the development expenditure shows an inconsistent trend from year 2011 to 2020. The development expenditure has decreased from 21,202,074 ringgit in 2011 to 15,145,540 ringgit in 2012, then increased to 28,648,833 ringgit in 2013. After that, it decreased again to 14,288,985 ringgit in 2015, and increased again to 87,570,301 ringgit in 2020. That's all for my part. Thank you.
A very good day to Prof. I'm Woon and my metric number is 278203. I'm going to talk about the conclusion and the recommendation. In conclusion, the fishing industry is one of the most important sub-industries to the overall economy of Malaysia. As the fishing industry is important, the study is carried out to identify the trend of government spending, the trend of production of fishery sectors, and the relationship between government spending on fishery sectors and the total production of fishery sectors in marine and in aquaculture. According to Wagner's laws, government expenditure is an influential factor that is utilized to enhance the economy instead of as a driver of growth. Government expenditure is considered to be the primary source of the economic growth in addressing problems associated with stagnation. The trend of government expenditure on the fishery sectors go up from 2011 to 2019. It is because the operating expenditure and development expenditure increasing from 2011 to 2019. The total value for marine and aquaculture of the fishery sectors show a continuous increases from 2011 to 2019. The relationship between the government expenditure and the total value of the fishery sectors in marine and aquaculture is positive because both of them show increases from year 2011 to 2019 due to the increasing of the benefits for the fishery sector. Since the fishery sectors in marine and aquaculture of Malaysia still have a lot of space to improve, thus there are some recommendations for the government to improve the value and the economy of the fishery sectors in Malaysia. One of the recommendations is the government can increase the Fisherman Living Allowance, AISYAH. Since the inflation has caused the salaries earned are not enough to cover the high living costs, to prevent the fishermen from changing careers, the government should help the fishermen to solve the financial problem by increasing the AISYAH. The next recommendation is that the government can give more support on the fuel consumption for fishery sectors. As the market price of diesel and petrol keep increasing to new high, this has caused the fishermen to decrease the trips to the sea to save the cost. Thus, to make the fishermen more willing to increase the number of trips, diesel and petrol subsidies have to increase. The last recommendation to improve the fishery sectors is that the government has to make a better policy on the management of fishing. For example, improve the management of fishing to avoid overfishing. This is because overfishing will bring negative impacts on the fishery sectors, which causes the unemployment of fishery sectors increases. Thus, a better policy on fishing management is a must to improve the fishery sectors in Malaysia. That's all for our presentation. Thank you.